Ground rules are the invisible foundation of every successful project team, and most candidates underestimate how much the PMP exam tests them. Ground rules are not just nice-to-have norms. They are how teams prevent conflict, protect quality, and build trust. In this video, I'll break down Task 12 from Domain 1, Define Team Ground Rules. We'll cover the three enablers, what the exam really expects, how agile teams handle ground rules differently, and I'll finish with a practice question. Let's get into it. Task 12 sits in Domain 1, People, which makes up 42% of the PMP exam. The task statement is, define team ground rules. There are three enablers. First, communicate organizational principles with the team and external stakeholders. Second, establish an environment that fosters adherence to the ground rules. Third, manage and rectify ground rule violations. Three enablers, fewer than most other tasks, but each is heavily testable. Let's go through them. Without explicit ground rules, teams default to assumptions, and assumptions are where most project conflicts start. Unspoken expectations about meeting attendance, different ideas about response times, cultural differences in how disagreement is expressed, inconsistent quality standards across team members. The PMP exam expects you to define ground rules proactively at the beginning of the project, not after the first conflict has surfaced. Prevention is always cheaper than resolution. The first enabler is communicate organizational principles with the team and external stakeholders. Ground rules do not exist in isolation. They sit on top of organizational policies, ethical standards, and the PMI Code of Ethics. The project manager's job is to translate these broader principles into concrete team-level agreements: how decisions are made, how conflicts are raised, how work is reviewed, how communication flows. On the exam, any answer where the PM defines ground rules in isolation, without referencing organizational principles or involving the team, is almost always wrong. Effective ground rules cover several testable areas. Communication norms, how and when team members communicate, response time expectations, meeting etiquette, decision-making process, who decides what, when consensus is required, how disagreements are resolved, quality standards, what good looks like for deliverables, review processes, and acceptance criteria, working hours and availability, especially for distributed or virtual teams, conflict resolution approach, how the team handles disagreements before they escalate. On the exam, any scenario involving recurring team friction usually points back to a missing or unclear ground rule. The second enabler is establish an environment that fosters adherence to the ground rules. Writing rules down is not the same as living by them. The project manager must actively create the conditions where ground rules become real team behavior. This means modeling the rules personally. The PM follows them first. It means reinforcing them through consistent communication. It means making them visible, not buried in a document no one reads. On the exam, a project manager who creates ground rules and then ignores them when convenient is the wrong answer every time. Consistency is what makes ground rules credible. This is the core principle the PMP exam tests on Task 12. Ground rules imposed top-down by the project manager rarely stick. Team members comply on the surface but resent the rules underneath. Ground rules created collaboratively, where the team contributes to defining the norms, are far more durable. On the exam, whenever a scenario shows the PM dictating rules to the team, that's almost always wrong. The PM facilitates the conversation. The team owns the outcome. The third enabler is manage and rectify ground rule violations. Even with the best ground rules, violations will happen, and the project manager must address them in a way that reinforces the rules rather than undermining them. On the exam, this is tested through scenarios where a team member repeatedly breaks an agreed norm, missing stand-ups, ignoring quality standards, communicating disrespectfully. The correct response always follows the same pattern. Address it directly, address it privately, refer back to the agreed rule, Give the person the chance to correct course. Ignoring violations is never the right answer. The exam tests a specific sequence for handling violations. Step 1. Address the violation directly with the individual in private. Public correction damages trust and embarrasses the person. Step 2. Refer back to the agreed ground rule. The conversation is not personal, it is about the team's commitment. Step 3. Listen for context. There may be a reason for the behavior that the rule did not anticipate. Step 4. If the pattern persists, involve the team in revisiting or reinforcing the rule. Step 5. Escalation is a last resort, not a first response. On the exam, jumping straight to escalation or formal action without this sequence is almost always wrong. In agile environments, ground rules are formalized as the working agreement, and this is tested on the exam. The working agreement is created collaboratively by the team during the forming phase or sprint 0. It covers communication norms, definition of done, meeting protocols, and how the team handles disagreements. Retrospectives are the formal mechanism for revisiting and refining the working agreement. The team reviews what is working, what is not, and adjusts the rules together. On the exam, if a scenario mentions a working agreement, retrospective, or self-organizing team and ground rules, you are in agile territory. The team owns the rules. The scrum master or servant leader facilitates. They do not dictate. 3 traps that catch candidates on ground rules questions. Trap 1. Ground rules imposed by the PM rather than co-created with the team. The exam consistently rewards collaborative creation. Top-down rules are the wrong answer. Trap 2. Ground rules that exist only on paper. If the team does not see, reference, or live by the rules, they do not really exist. Visibility and reinforcement matter as much as definition. Trap 3. Escalating violations to senior management as a first response. The PM is expected to address violations directly with the individual first. Escalation is a last resort. Let's recap Task 12. Define team ground rules. Enabler 1. Communicate principles. Translate organizational policies and ethics into concrete team agreements. Enabler 2. Foster adherence. Model the rules, reinforce them consistently, keep them visible. Enabler 3. Manage violations, address directly, address privately, refer to the rule, escalate only as a last resort. And remember the core principle: ground rules only work when the team owns them. The PM facilitates, the team commits. Let's test your understanding with an exam-style question. Question. A project manager notices that one team member has missed 3 consecutive daily stand-ups, despite the team's agreed ground rule that all members attend or notify the team in advance. Other team members are starting to express frustration. What should the project manager do first? Option A. Raise the issue publicly in the next stand-up so the entire team can address it together. Option B. Speak privately with the team member to understand the situation and refer back to the agreed ground rule. Option C. Escalate the attendance issue to the team member's functional manager. Option D. Remove the stand-up from the team's schedule since one member is not finding it useful. The correct answer is B. This is a classic ground rule violation scenario. The project manager's first responsibility is to address the violation directly and privately, and to refer back to the agreed rule so the conversation is about the team's commitment, not personal criticism. Listening for context is also important. There may be a legitimate reason the team member is missing stand-ups. Why not A? Public correction embarrasses the team member and damages trust. It almost never improves behavior. Why not C? Escalating to a functional manager skips direct engagement entirely. It is premature and bypasses the PM's responsibility. Why not D? Removing the stand-up punishes the whole team for one person's behavior and abandons an agreed ground rule. B is correct because it follows the PMP sequence: direct, private, reference to the rule, with space to listen. That's your complete guide to PMP Task 12. Define team ground rules. Subscribe for more PMP exam prep. Next up, how to mentor relevant stakeholders, Task 13, explained. See you in the next video.